Welcome to this episode of Robots in Depth. Today I'm honored to have Harri Ketamo here from Head AI, and we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. How did you get into the field you're in now? What was the start of this?
Yeah, it's going to be a long story, but if I take just the short version, been doing science since graduating, or in fact even studies. And for me, this science has been some sort of combination of learning sciences, cognitive sciences, as well as applied mathematics and physics. And somehow I found mimicking human kind of decision-making, thinking mechanisms with algorithms has been always interesting. No matter if it has been really about cognitive operations or sports or gaming, and especially gaming.
Are we talking computer games?
Yeah, computer games. Yeah. Well, all my previous companies has been gaming companies, so been developing game artificial intelligence for decades.
What you're playing against when you're playing in a
Yeah.
game.
For example, your opponent, because when you are playing a game alone, which doesn't happen anymore because everyone is online, but computer controlled characters, it was super important that they are entertaining. So it's very easy to build a stupid opponent or perfect opponent or random opponent. But an opponent that behaves like a human player is entertaining, and still you are able to win it, but it's entertaining hard enough playing human style. That's a challenging. And that's why in games business, the AI is not the AI. It's more like storytelling, it's faking, it's mimicking. And maybe that's also part why I'm now in serious AI. And that's part why I'm also critical in artificial intelligence, because there are that much things we can't prove. Is it real or is it storytelling? And because of the gaming background, I know that there are that much storytelling that we should really have critical discussions on anything. If you claim AI has ended up to some decision, is there data? And is the data valid according to old-fashioned statistics? And those are the core questions. But yeah, basically because of science, I'm now here on artificial intelligence, and with gaming background gives me, approach where I don't take everything as granted.
Now everybody plays games online, so this isn't as an active area now, or is it still a...
I would say it is. It is really, really active. If we take NHL games or football games or any game you might play also alone, or you are part of the team, it's very important that the characters behaves like real people do. Like, for example, Messi plays like Messi. And just not just a random character. That would spoil the feeling.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you mentioned there, that in for instance, this football or any athletic thing, you have to not only adapt to a generic opponent, but it has to be this opponent, that opponent.
Yeah, exactly. How you pass, or are you doing to score, and how you play the game. It's not only that you are just having the ball and then you pass it to someone, but how?
The flair, the thing that you and I have a reasonably easy time seeing in one human being, we can easily tell people apart.
Yeah.
Because we see their quirks and their way of doing things, their style.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah?
Exactly.
So then you moved on to what you're doing now?
Yeah, we are now doing natural language processing. So namely, we are developing an AI that can build a mind map about any sentence, paragraph, or text. And why mind map? Because in natural language, we use the language in order to describe what we mean in related to context and making details with words. And natural language is challenging because we use that much adjectives, prepositions, postpositions that are relevant in general, but makes natural language processing difficult if you don't go in deep meanings of the language. And mind map is some sort of simplification about what we mean with this. So we built machine that can draw a mind map about, let's say, paragraph. And it takes there a core words and the neighborhood that is not necessarily mentioned in the paragraph. Because we as a human, if you get a text from taxation, no matter if there is called taxation, you understand immediately that this is about taxing. This is about government, and this is done for public good. So you can add words there that is not necessarily in the paragraph. And our machine can do that because it's pre-trained with billions of sentences from news, from scientific papers, and other sources we feel is trustworthy. And yes, CNN is one of trusted medias. It's not fake, we think.
No, and even if they make a mistake now and then, or even if some of it have been influenced somehow, the vast bulk of it is going to be of high quality, right?
Yeah, and I would say that when we are not producing chatbots that are trying to, well, mimic a perfect discussant, so the challenges are more related that is the AI in tune? Does it find the right context? It's a bit challenge that if you don't find the right context, then it's very difficult to do any reasoning behind the context. But if it use one wrong word, or maybe the word is not an optimal, that's not a problem in big picture. So finding a tune is the challenge.
So this is interesting from the fact that you have this deferred context. You read the text, you look at the text, which is just characters, right?
Yeah.
But to make it more, to get a high quality output, you try to put it in a wider context.
Exactly.
You see, this is the way a sports report on TV sounds. This is how a priest will talk. This is how the taxman will talk to you.
Exactly.
This is how a police officer talks to you. And when you can deduce that this is probably this category, you can then start to read between the lines. And add that to your processing.
Exactly. And that's super important in our area in job tech, so namely labor markets, corporate training, education related to jobs. Because we, with AI, when we try to match, for example, a person to a job, we have quite limited text. The CV is typically quite short, maybe just a couple of job titles, maybe a couple of schools. And the job opening is, well, sometimes one paragraph, sometimes one paper, but it's most often about the company. So we have to mine out the connecting factors, skills, attitudes, motivations, knowledges behind those two texts. And that's impossible without going behind the text. So in that case, if we just compare two texts only with the text, we won't end up to optimal solution, and we are going to miss most of the good cases. But human, we can see behind the text and understand that, okay, this guy is a construction worker. Nevertheless, he has just listed his company names where he's been working. But because all the companies are electricity companies, he's electrician, but he just haven't mentioned that. So there are thousands of jobs. But without this kind of thinking, if there are no job titles or skills, no jobs found. And that's also one part of our challenge in labor market nowadays. We have a good systems, but almost all the systems, no matter if they are private or the governmental systems, they are based on word matching. If there is a salesperson, there must be match salesperson. But what if there is sales assistant, sales manager, sales director? No match.
Yeah, or for instance, the person worked at a company that only does sales, but it isn't called sales. It's called Group B Limited.
Yeah,
but you know
customer success management.
Yeah, you know that they're a sales company. They only do sales. They don't do other things. You can put that into your equation. You use this then for labor market matching between available positions and available labor.
Let's say that's top of the iceberg, but that's one case. Because what we are really interested is to understanding the labor market dynamics. Because nowadays when we discuss that AI and robotics are taking the jobs, which is fact, of course there will be jobs will be lost. But the skills are there, and there will be equally same number new jobs. We just have to understand
more,
usually more. But we just have to understand what the jobs are, and then we have to understand what skills those people need to train. So what is the reskilling need? And that's why we put first of all our AI to read through job openings in order to build a general understanding what skills are searched right now. what are downtrending skills and is there uptrending skills? The biggest challenge is what are the new skills, because they don't exist as words. And because of the data is always going back and there is no words, AI can't create new words. We people create new words. So the AI recognizes there is a new skill when it first time appears. No before that. And that's the one challenge, because usually people ask that, okay, what are the key skills in 10 years? I don't know. But I know what are not needed anymore in 10 years. And I know what are needed right now and what are trending right now. So that's best we can do. But that helps governments, schools and individuals build an understanding where we are going and what we can just drop out. And from individual point of view, when we have an understanding what are the trends, what I can do now, we can suggest what skills you can get more. And because we know what schools are offering, we can say that this school helps you, this private training company can help you, this online material is good for you. And then we can show that, okay, by taking these steps, you are ready for your next career. Or you are right now ready for your next career if you just think that I'm a construction engineer, but I'm also needed in metal industry. I have all the skills, for example.
You can cross over.
Yeah, exactly.
And the computer is really good at seeing patterns that can be hard for people to see. And they can do this. They can, I presume, also look at the outcome of these. So say that we match a person to a job, and this works out very good. The computer can learn from that.
Exactly, and not necessarily waiting that long. But if we compare, if we take a setup where we can suggest out of 1,000 people, we can suggest that these are 50 very good candidates. Are they really good? Are they better than randomly picked 50? And in how we have ranked a person who gets chosen, interviewed by people. So that tells something. And not necessarily saying that the one we ranked number one should be hired, no. But you should interview what you can, 5, 10 or something, and then find out that there was most likely a good candidate. But you don't have to read through all those 1,000 CVs, and still everyone who applied a job get treated equally. So everyone's application was read through. While in human, we get tired.
It's just not possible.
It's not possible.
And especially not on a countrywide scale. If we're talking this as a society, where we try to, because this comes down to a society being productive. The right person for the right job is very important. But I also believe that for the individual, being in a job that's right for you is more fulfilling and more rewarding and less stressful for you, right?
Exactly, and I think this kind of approaches might also help people who have difficulties to write about themselves. Because typically if human reader checks a document and it's nicely written, it's good. But if it is made by introvert engineer who is very good in his or her job, not stereotyping at all, but his or her job, but it's not a salesperson. His or her CV doesn't look that good, most likely. But when machine is looking it through, it doesn't care how much words you use. Is there a lot of adjectives and a lot of this and that?
It can see beyond the raw text.
It just focus on boring facts like your skills, attitudes, soft skills, and so on.
Very interesting, very interesting. Is this system operating right now?
We are now running several proof of concept studies in Finland, in India, in States. So it's live. We have real users, but still we call it in proof of concept phase because we have to teach it more. We are very happy on it, but we are ready for launching it in maybe next year. When it comes to AI, the training the AI and then training it more is very important. And especially when dealing with natural language, the language evolves all the time. So it's not in one language now and forever. No. It changes all the time. Like there are new skills, old skill get a new name, there are new words, how to make sure it don't misunderstand something. And of course, algorithm change. We are very happy with our current algorithm, but I'm pretty confident that we will sooner or later figure out better. When we have a lot of data, we can do the comparison, and especially a lot of data also evaluated by human. For example, very simple thing we discussed about mind maps. We have done a lot of experiments to make sure the AI-built mind maps are relevant also from professionals' point of view. And for example, in mathematics and natural sciences, our AI can build some 90% the same maps as professionals would do. And an interesting thing is that no professional builds the same map. Even in mathematics, more than 95 is not a common thing between the professors, because there are differences. And when we go to really challenging stuff like history or politics, our AI can build a map that is less than 50% the same with the professionals, but no professional builds the better. If we take, for example, politics, and we take a left-wing map and right-wing map, they are they are not more than 50% the same.
This is very interesting. And as you say, I think also this we can embed our better selves in these AIs, because they can, as you say, they can take that person that might not be a great salesperson of their own skill set. We might take a young person, we might take an old person. We can take people of different properties and we can give them all the same opportunity.
Exactly.
And that's very important, I think.
That's very important. Yeah, definitely. Because we have had a lot of discussions that is the age something, only skills should matter. Is the gender something, only skills should matter. And that's something we can make sure in the very beginning that those are not controlling when the AI doesn't even know that information.
Do you kind of operate the AI system some way, or is it just feed everything in and you get a list out?
We as a company, you should think more, we are staff office. We hire you thousands of assistants and we educate the assistants. So that's our business. But our business is B2B. So we have clients who run their own businesses. They can be governments or organizations that needs to know more about labor markets. So what skills are searched in what area, in what time, in what industry, type of things. So they can do politics decisions based on facts. Then schools is one very important customer area, but their main question is that how we can make our curriculum better in terms of supporting business in our region. And so showing what skills they should educate is in the core of that. For job office or headhunter company, it's very important to understand what this person knows and do we have something where to put him, or vice versa, which is way more common thing, that companies need to get N number, 10 this kind of persons, and the job office to have list of 100,000 people. How to get best 20 candidates, or let's say best 50 candidates that human checks into list. So the human professional don't have to crawl through all these 100,000 CVs, but focus on from these 50, let's pick up 20 best.
And that's of course, this is also what I think this all the time when it comes to robotics and AI, is that it's never going to replace a human. It's just a tool for a human to do something.
Exactly. But we will see tools that helps individuals perform better, doing more jobs in shorter time frame. And being more productive. It doesn't mean that there will be unemployment. There will be new jobs, because when there is money in the system, there is always needs in the system. Somebody will figure out what are the new needs. There will be new jobs. There will be new companies. There will be new everything. If we just make sure that the money and the business doesn't focus on 3 or 4 or 5 companies, and there is no other companies at all, because we have to remember that small and medium enterprises are employing some, depending on country, but 80 to 95% of the people.
SMEs are
are the power. So if SMEs are out of the game, then we have problems. Not because of AI, not because of robotics, but because of our own systems. We have to understand in national level that we really have to keep business and competition open for small and medium enterprises. That's the key. Right now we are talking too much how companies should apply IBM, companies should apply Google's AI. And we forget that in every country there are tens of AI companies that are developing the core AI. In Finland, in Sweden, in Denmark, there are a lot of companies. But still in discussion, we discuss that, are you using IBM Watson? Rather than, are you using this Stockholm Group's innovation? So that's the first thing. We are discussing in a level that there is nothing else than these three big players. There are a lot of AI companies. And that's something we forget too often in our discussions when discussing on AI. We only talk big three, but there are
a big grassroots movement.
Yeah, there are a lot of potential behind that we don't discuss enough. And also coming back to your question, how making things affordable for smaller companies. That's also, in fact, we have to thank Google about that, because the API economy thinking. So basically you can share your intelligence with very simple calls that are easy to integrate on almost anything. And approaching markets in a way that it's super easy to integrate AI into your existing system, or then start to try something. That makes it possible for even small companies to use artificial intelligence. So you don't have to invest $1 million in order to get started. You can just say your web developer that, hey, try this out, and let's figure out then, is this for us?
You can prove to yourself that what you're working on might work.
Yeah.
And then you spend the money, you spend a few $100s, you prove to yourself that, well, this is probably something here, right?
Yeah.
And then you can get money, you can show this prototype to somebody, maybe your family, and then you get a little bit more money.
Yeah.
And you can take the next step.
Yeah.
And wow, this stuff actually works. It's far from perfect, but this prototype is really cool, right?
Yeah.
And then you can go to other funding institutions. It actually kind of works, right?
Yeah,
and if we have this natural progression from the very early prototypes, where you convince yourself, your friends, some angels, and then the big banks maybe, or the general population, right?
Yeah, or
to get an investment.
Then starting to do sales. Nowadays with startupping, we too little discuss how to find your first customer and how to do sales. It's more related to how to raise money. But it's one very good option to focus also that what problems I can solve with that, and who might be my customer. And then going directly to sales. You just have to have a working prototype. So if you are a slideware company, you pretty much need to just raise money. But if you have a prototype, you can do many kind of different things. Maybe raise money, but go directly to discuss with your customers that, hey, we can solve your problem. It's ugly, but it's working.
Let's now make it a practical proposition for your application.
Yeah.
We talked about the matching of employees to employment opportunities. Are you doing anything else with this technology too, or?
Right now we focus on job tech, and this matching and labor markets understanding is one part. But then another part is the training itself. Because in many cases we end up situation where there is no training. Right now there are some 1 billion people looking for reskilling, or should say work-related education, but they can't find it because there are MOOCs, there are online education, but most of those are academics or hobbies. There are, of course, there are a lot of offering in web, but it's hard to find. And then there are YouTube, where there are very practical videos, and we can call it microlearning when somebody just finds a video. But we curate content playlists for learners also. So the idea is that when our AI has built a mind map about a topic, you should learn. The mind map is there. So the mind map is pretty much the curriculum in the school. So what you learn, what is the extent you are going to study, and where you start from. So that's the curriculum. And so our AI curates also content from web, from YouTube, so short videos, from other sources, materials that covers your learning needs. And when you have watched the videos, done maybe the exercises, the AI can assess you. Because once again, the mind map is there. If you have really understood what you have studied, you can also explain the phenomena inside that mind map. For example, how the concepts A, B, and C are related. If you can type it natural language, and the mind map from your answer is similar, not exactly the same, but similar, like the original, you most likely have understood. If it is completely different, you most likely don't know anything about it. So that's the curating content, assessing, bringing back to your skill profile. That's part of our educational approach.
Yeah, and there we can also do it so that we can say that if you add these few kind of small holes in your education, you can access vastly many more opportunities.
Exactly.
Because we can see these small holes and we can plug them.
And most likely you are going to need just reskilling in some specific topics. You don't have to take a new degree. You don't have to go to university for 5 years to find your next job. Maybe just a couple of new skills are enough. Or then just understanding that, by the way, I have all the skills. So just empowering people. But the educational part is there because there is a huge need for different kind of educational approaches in vocational, in corporate training, in job-related area. And have to highlight that we are not doing this for K-12 or not for academics. They have own systems there, but we have that big need in vocational, corporate training, work-related training, that we really need this.
And this, of course, is tremendously important both for society and for the individual, having a better fit. By upskilling these small areas, maybe a week, 6 months or something, you might be able to get a job that's more fulfilling, allows you to live where you do now, you don't have to move.
Exactly.
And so this is very significant.
Yeah, and I think from individual point of view, it's really important to understand that you have the skills. You have a lot of skills in any case. And by just finding the optimal new skills, the world is open. And that's not away from you, because that's empowering also individual, that you understand that nothing has been taken away from me. Maybe the job was gone, I need new skills, there is a new job, but I still can do everything I could do in the previous job. So I'm not starting from empty.
No. And I also think that with the world changing quicker and quicker, we all have to accept the fact that and we live longer and longer. All of this is good things, but they have the consequences is that the fact that they change more, and having educating yourself once in your late teens and early tweens or early 20s, and then living on that for the rest of your life, that's probably not going to happen, right? We have to accept and control the way we continually add skills to our skill set. And this system can, of course, tell us if I want to go here in my life, this is what I would like to become. Exactly. How do I get there the best way? You're into AI, you've been in this field for quite a while, you started in gaming and now you do this. I would like to pick your brain a little bit on how do we create AI systems that are like your gaming AI systems, that are human friendly to interact with, that are interacts with us in a pleasant way, or in a way that makes the interaction as efficient as possible. Because I see that when you ever work with an assistant, or when I work as an assistant, that I did in a previous life, trying to predict what the person I was helping with this particular task made me, I looked at them and said, what do they need from me in the next step? And I could kind of hand them the tool, I can hand them the material, and after a while they just put their hand out and they know they're going to get the right stuff, right? And now when we more and more start to work with robotics as assistants, how do we create this relationship between the robot and the person, where the robot kind of listens to this individual and adapts to them?
That's really interesting area, because we typically think that the robot should look like human, or it should somehow serve like a human would do as an assistant. But does it necessarily have to be that way?
No, it should be something different, right?
That comes the gaming part, because the game designers has always thought think maybe in a way that, is this entertaining? Is the player enjoying what the player is doing? And how we can support the feeling of being enjoyed in maximum way. So it don't have to be dialogue always. So very much can happen behind. So if you have played, for example, Angry Birds. Everybody must have been played Angry Birds. It's so easy to start. It takes only 5 seconds to understand what you are doing, how you play the game, what is the goal, and then you just get entertained. And the same could be in communicating with AI and robots. So the robot don't necessarily have to be a human-like replica with which you discuss. It can be intelligent automation. For example, in homes, in kitchen, there could be just intelligent automation that can tell you, maybe talking, maybe some signals, but bringing the interface out of human kind of discussion, either via chat or by talking or with some interface where you have to type, but taking it more broader perspectives, because we have a long history of automizing things. So that's one thing we haven't discussed enough, that intelligent automation can be one part of not necessarily only robotics, not necessarily only AI, but that's something. And in many cases it might be even from user interface point of view, hide the user interface if we can just do it on background.
You've been in the field for quite some time. Where do you see interesting progress in the whole field of AI, not necessarily your own field? Because as you learn about the area, you get input from many different fields.
Yeah.
Where do you see progress? And
I think we just discussed about intelligent automation, how AI and robots grow together, or how AI and automation in general grows together. So that's why I say the most interesting area is intelligent automation, where AI starts to serve more real-world processes, the tangible processes.
And that's why I love robotics, and also why I love AI, is because when we put smarts or intelligence, whatever that is, the definition is murky at best, in a physical object that then can go out and perform tasks in the real world. That's a very powerful concept. We can do so much good with that.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm really interested. I'm very happy for all of you guys that gets interviewed in the show to share your time, and it's a fascinating stories I get to hear.
Okay.
Thank you very much for taking the time to do an interview. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
I hope you liked this episode of Robots in Depth. I'm proud to produce Robots in Depth with the support of the sponsors, Carbon Robotics and Aptomica. Carbon Robotics is redefining the relationship between humans and machines by making advanced automation dramatically more accessible, with low-cost robotic arms, integrated vision, and a powerful task intelligence engine that automates tasks no human was born to do. Carbon Robotics is proud to support Robots in Depth in their goal to elevate the global robotics ecosystem. Aptomica rents anything in modular robotics. Dream, rent, build. Visit aptomica.com to connect. If you like this episode, tell your friends, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. I am Per Sherboy, and I'll see you next week in another episode of Robots in Depth.